Welcome back. In this final research video, we'll discuss statutes. In this section, we'll cover how to locate statutes that are relevant to your fact pattern, how to identify California statutes and secondary sources, and how to select the proper date for a statutory citation. Let's get started. First, let's go over some quick background knowledge about statutes. Remember that statutes are laws passed by legislatures, either by state legislatures or by Congress. As a general rule, you should know that statutes are first published in chronological order. Later, statutes are organized by subject. Publications that organize statutes into subject area are called codes. Okay, so there are three versions of California Code. There's West's California Code, which is published by West, Deering's California Code, which is published by Lexis, and then there's just the basic California Code, which is available for free online. The West and Lexis California codes include annotations to the code sections that link to resources that cite to the statute you're interested in. This can be a really helpful one-stop shop because by finding a relevant statute, you can be brought to the cases that have interpreted your code section, articles discussing the effect of the statute, secondary sources, and other resources. So the takeaway here to remember is that the statutes are first published chronologically and then by topic. You'll typically use codes to research statutes. Here, I'd like to make another quick note about terminology. You should know that statutes have different names during different stages of their evolution. So before a statute becomes law, it's referred to as a bill. Later, when the bill is passed and becomes law, it's called a statute. Finally, the legal publishers will organize different sections of the statute into topics. So when the statute is broken up by subject, the smaller parts are called code sections. This is typically what you cite to. This is important because you might hear the terms statute and code section used interchangeably. The term code section is technically more precise, but you can use either. Both terms refer to laws passed by legislatures. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's move on to discuss how to locate relevant statutes. If you followed the discussion up to this point, you know that secondary sources are the way to go. I recommend checking your topic in a few secondary sources to ground your research and to make sure you're on the right path. Once you've found the relevant section in your secondary source, you'll see citations to primary law, that is, links to relevant cases, regulations, and if applicable, relevant statutes. For instance, say you're looking for materials on property law and are searching for the statute on community property with right of survivorship in California. Here's a section that discusses the principle of law we're interested in, and here's the citation to the California Code section below. This brings us to our second topic, how to recognize statutes. When you see a California statute or code section in a secondary source, it may be abbreviated in a weird way, especially for secondary sources California specific. Don't be surprised if the citation omits the word California. So often, if you see a California statute in a secondary source, it will look like this. Let's look at a few more examples of California code sections in context. Again, we're interested in community property with right of survivorship. So if we're interested in citing to this law, click through to see the code section. Here's an example of how a citation to a California statute will look when you see it in a secondary source. We click through. If you're on Westlaw, you'll automatically be brought to West California Code. If you're looking at a treatise on Lexis, and you click on the citation, you'll automatically be brought to Deering's California Code. Here's an example of a citation to a California Code section from Deering's. Now, if you click on the citation in the secondary source, you'll be brought to the law as it's published in the code. Note that when you're doing this, you're now no longer in the secondary source, you're instead in the code, which is a separate publication. If you start scrolling here, you're paging through the code sections and you can see other laws in the same area. Let's look at a few examples to practice. So, is this a statute? No, this is a case citation. So, is this a statute? No, this one's sort of tricky. It says CCR, that stands for California Code of Regulations, which are in fact the publication that publishes regulations and not statutes. Remember that California statutes will generally look like this. Once you've located what looks like a relevant code section and read through it, your final step is figuring out how to cite it. For full information on how to cite statutes, you'll want to check out Rule 12 in the Blue Book. Depending on the requirements for your class, you may need to locate the code in print to provide a date for publication. Blue Book Rule 12.3.2 provides information about what year to provide when citing to a code in print. The rule is that you'll find the citation you're interested in, and then cite to the year A on the spine of the volume, B to the year that appears on the title page, or C to the latest copyright year. That's in descending order of preference. So you'll check out the spine of the volume first, and if it's not there, the year on the title page. And if not there, you'll check on the latest copyright page. In practical terms, here's how to do this. If you've located the relevant code section online, make a note of the citation and come to the library to double-check the year of publication. If you're looking for a California statute, you'll come to the Hannon Atrium, the large room on the second floor of the Raines Library. You'll see Deering's California Code and West California Code on the left-hand side of the room. You'll then look for the relevant volume in the relevant section. Once you have the book in your hands, check if the year is located on the spine of the book. If not there, you'll check the title page. If it's not there, you'll check the copyright page. Remember to also check the pocket part to see if there are any updates. I know this may seem very fussy, and it is. But the goal here is not just to cite to any copy of the law, but rather to cite to the exact version passed by the legislature. Citing to the exact year of publication is a sort of stamp that verifies you're citing to the exact language passed into law. So that's it for statutes. In closing, here are a few examples of California code sections according to the Blue Book. With this information, you should be able to assemble a citation to a given code section. That concludes our statutes video. In summary, you'll A. Use a secondary source to find a relevant statute. B. Look at the citation to recognize if the material is a California statute. And C. Use Blue Book Rule 12, and more specifically Rule 12.3.2, to establish what year you'll cite to. Thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions about the topics discussed, please feel free to check in with your research professor for more information. Wishing you the best of luck with your research endeavors.